Neither Better Trades or any of its personnel are registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. I will mention that I consider certain securities or positions to be good candidates for the types of strategies we are discussing or illustrating. Because I consider the securities or positions appropriate to the discussion or for illustration purposes does not mean that I'm telling you to trade the strategies or securities. Keep in mind that we are not providing you with recommendations or personalized advice about your trading activities. The information we are providing is not tailored to any particular individual. Any mention of a particular security is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold that or any other security or a suggestion that it is suitable for any specific person. Keep in mind that all trading involves a risk of loss, and this will always be the situation regardless of whether we are discussing strategies that are intended to limit risk. Also, Better Trades personnel are not subject to trading restrictions. I and others at Better Trades could have a position in a security or initiate a position in a security at any time.
Hello, and welcome out to another Insights. We're going to be doing the big guys here today, and before we do that, let's start with the quote. And I just found this a little bit ago. Take a few minutes to take a break and just kind of unwind the brain for a minute after some trading and some other stuff. And I had the market mashup this morning. Sometimes I'll go on Facebook and poke around looking for quotes and just kind of unwinding the mind, like I said. But this one popped up, and I absolutely love it. The man on top of the mountain didn't fall there. I think it's absolutely perfect, I think, especially with respect to trading, because you don't get to the top without a lot of struggle, without a lot of work, and without massive challenges. So it is, I think, a very good metaphor to look at and expect that, trading is like climbing a mountain. And it's a long journey. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of preparation. So just hold on tight, and the beauty is once you get up there, the view, second to none. So keep your eye on the prize and keep it going. So with that, let's get over to charts. I actually have quite a few finally this week. It seems to be getting better. This lull is seeming to go away. It's interesting. I think I've seen this one time before. I think last October, November, whenever it was slow, was kind of like this. We had very little opportunities. 10, 12, 15 was a good week. Now we're at 22, and I had, I think, 56 or 58 that showed up as patterns, where before I was getting 30 and 40. So we're seeing a bump up in the number of patterns showing up, seeing a bump in the number of opportunities that look good. And so I think we may be setting up for something here. In fact, it is the middle of the trading day. I've updated the charts. In fact, I'll do a quick intraday update again right as we're getting started here. And then we'll go look real quick. I'll just show you exactly what's happening in the market right now. We'll just keep the core 30 weight. I had the market right here. Markets, the SPX is down. You see 4 points. It was up a little bit this morning just for a little while. But you can see some of the action as of late. Let me make that bigger. It's slowing down a little bit. We had the bump up yesterday. It rallied up, tapped the band. Today, if it drops off, especially if it continues to fall and it drops, say, 10 or 20 points today, that upper band may squeeze down, may roll over, which would have a Bollinger Band top forming. So it's starting to look a little more bearish. I mean, it's starting to give some bearish signs, I should say. The volume is one of those things that is still light, still very light. It's gotten lighter and lighter as this rally continues. So it means that the rally basically is suspect. Until volume comes into this thing, got to be very cautious on the bullish side of things. So we can see, interesting. This is that core 30, and actually there's been some added. I need to weed through this again and modify it. There's some that have gotten popped in during, like WHR, I just put in there this morning with the market mashup. Somebody asked about it. But the interesting thing is that the top probably 70 to 80% of this list. Oh, no, wait, I sorted it by alphabet. I had it sorted by percentage change. I usually do that because it tells you who's up the most percentage and who's down the most percentage. This was about 70, if not 80% green this morning. And now you can see it's about 50-50. So we're having some sell-off. We're having some pullback, which is no surprise. So the market seems to be pretty overbought. So we'll take it from there and see what happens. So looking at the stocks, and like I said, there's 22 here. So ABBV, nice symmetrical triangle, looking for a potential bullish breakout. But, and actually the indicators kind of look right for it. It's bumping its head right there You can see on the, oh no, that's not the 50-day. I was thinking it was. Bollinger Bands are pinched. Which anytime you see consolidation like that, when you know when you go to the Bollinger Bands, they're going to be pinching. Looking for a breakout of the triangle basically to the upside. So, and if it does, we've got a good about $6-7 of potential. It's about 6 actually. We've got 8 from the triangle, but from the entry point to the target, we've got $6. So, and of course it could keep running, but this one looks fairly good. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's not really typically this kind of pattern is a continuation of a bullish trend. You'd want to see it somewhere over in here after it's been rallying. Here it's basically been trending lower and now it's consolidating. Sometimes they act as reversals, sometimes they don't. We just don't know. But the pattern is there, and if it breaks out to the upside, I like the looks of it. But again, and I'll probably say it 10 times in the next 20 minutes while we're here, the upside I'm very skittish on. So got to be cautious with it and be ready, hold stops tight, scale out if necessary. If it starts to slow down, shows any kinds of weakness, I'd be bailing on at least some of it or doing something to protect the profits that are there if there are some. So moving on to Autodesk. Really small range here, about $2.50 is also not a huge potential, but there's a little bit there. So the beauty of this is you can see we've rallied from 42 basically up to 58. So if this does break down, look, there's something on the indicators. It's just starting to pinch. Usually pinches for a while before it breaks. If this does break down, though, say in the next few days or a week or two, and it could, if it breaks that 55 area, it very well could drop quite a bit. It's entirely possible because it's had a big rally. So hard to say. We'll see. Alaska, similar kind of picture. Big bullish engulfing pattern created this big rally. It's got kind of a double top forming now. And especially if it drops off today and breaks back below that 8210 area, then we would have a not an extremely solid double top. Typically, you want to see double tops. If this right back here, if this peak was up where this was, you want a little more than, here we've got about a week and a half's worth. Here you got about 2 or 3 weeks in between the peaks, even though they're not a double top here. But it would be preferable to see a little more time between the peaks. These short ones like this are not necessarily as good. They can still work. They can still play out. But I would consider them to be a little bit weaker than something that had a little more time in between the two peaks. So, but we're also sitting at a resistance level. So we've got a combination of things going on there. What is this? I don't even know how to pronounce that. Alnilam? I don't know. Pharmaceutical biotechs are looking very bearish. They have, you can see the chart here. A lot of them look like this, where we've had some pretty significant drops in the last 6 months to a year. Some have stabilized a little bit, like this one. It's building a base. Looking for it to continue to the upside, possibly. You can see MACD is trending higher, as is Stokes, even though the price is going sideways. We are, as of 11:18, so about 21 minutes ago, we were up 437 on this thing. So if it breaks out to the upside, it breaks that 67 area, then probably going to continue up to about 72. This thing has the potential to run very far, very fast. You can see back here, we've got, when it sold off big, we got a bullish engulfing pattern, 52 to 65, about a 13-point run in 3 days. So doing this, not a huge ordeal for it if it does. So we'll see what happens. Air Products. Had a nice shooting star type yesterday. Was expecting that if today is down, maybe some opportunity there. And I put the target, instead of coming all the way down here to the support, up where that previous high is right there, about 135. We got a couple of hits on it here recently. So made it a little shorter target than normally I might have. So that's more conservative. If it gets to that and it's still going strong, if it does fall off and it continues to fall, then awesome. Scale out maybe. Take part of it out, maybe a bulk of it, and see if it'll come down to 132 or even more. So we'll see. Boeing, interesting. This was down $2.50 last I looked. But it is now only down $1.31. This is the one I talked about yesterday where they were having some layoffs. Laying off 4,000 people, which isn't abnormal for Boeing. I just didn't get into the details of what it means. And realistically, you never know how the market's going to react to stuff like that. That type of news um, can be hailed as a great thing. So any company that is struggling or isn't meeting numbers, if they announce a big layoff, a lot of times the market will react in a bullish way because they're cutting expenses. So their profits will go up because they don't have as many people to pay. And most businesses, the largest overhead, largest expense is personnel, is payroll. So not sure what the deal is with Boeing. I don't remember. I think they have 50 or 100,000 employees. So 4,000 is not an enormous number. So we'll see though. Never know how it's going to react. So, but I expected it to have a bearish reaction, and when it was down 2.5 this morning, there was no surprise. But to see it bounce back up, of course, we're still an hour and a half out from the close, so we'll see. I'll make sure that thing's still recording. Burlington was looking for, I had kind of a hangman there at a resistance level, was looking for it to drop back off. But as of 11:18, when I last updated this, it was up a little bit. But if the market, and here's the good thing, if the market sells off and this thing continues to fall and it drops off and becomes a little doji, or it's a dark day, a closed day, a black candlestick, if that's the way it finishes off, that would be a pretty bearish indication. You can see what happened last time we were up in this area. We had a doji there right about this level. It dropped off for 2 or 3 days. Of course, it bounced back and rallied, but with the hangman and then a shooting star type of pattern right after, that would give a pretty bearish indication. And considering that the market is pretty well overbought, I would say that it's probably a good sign for the bearish side. Celgene, another pharmaceutical biotech. Again, very similar to the last one, consolidating, going sideways, looking for this thing to break to the downside. You can see the 50 days leading the way as far as the trend, keeping the trend in check. So Stokes is starting to kind of flatten out, but it is pointed down. MACD's flattening out and basically just kind of stagnant right there. So target of 89.21. So we'll see what happens with this. Might take a few days to get that to play out. This cough's almost gone. Cigna. Now this is an interesting one. When I first looked at this, I went, yeah, it's in the middle of a range. But then when you go look at the indicators, okay, because it looks bearish, everything about it looks good for the bearish side. It's already dropped off a little bit, and we've just consolidated for the last week and a half. And I looked at it and said, okay, there's the 50-day right there, and it looks like it's starting to move down. The lower band's starting to turn to the downside. The upper band is flat, which a lot of times will proceed to fall. So I went, all right, if it breaks the 50-day, then we'll put the stop right above the 50-day. We'll put a target. It's right there at 133.21, so it's only $3 away. So it's a pretty tight little range, which is good and bad. If it breaks and hits the entry point and continues to fall, then that is a good thing. Sometimes it does what it did yesterday. It can whipsaw you out of this. So know that if you choose to do this one, you could get whipsawed out the same day because it is such a tight range. The beauty is, though, and part of the reason I left this here is because if it goes to 133.21, that is something where I would scale out of part of it. Probably only half, depending on what kind of move it's making. I mean, $3 in one day for this thing is nothing. So it could break and just keep going, and in one day you could hit the target. If that was the case and there's lots of volume and it's pushing hard, I would probably take half of it out and leave the other half there. It could run to 120. Who knows? So we will see on that. Comcast bumping up its head against that downtrend that has been in place now for about a year. Not quite a year. Yeah, bumping its head against it and slowing down. We had that spinning top yesterday. Looks like we'll probably form another spinning top today. This is ripe for a fall. Indicators still look fairly bullish, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could turn, if this thing turns, the price turns, the indicators will turn right behind it. So DaVita. And again, in the interest of full disclosure, I'll say it in case there's any new people here that didn't hear me say it last week. My wife works at DaVita, so she's a supervisor, so she doesn't have any inside information, none of that stuff. So it's not an issue. But it has broken out to the upside of the downtrend line, which you can see there, that it's been going for almost a year now. So when it broke up this morning, it was rallying and actually almost went up and hit the target. Got pretty close to it, but it sold off a little bit since then and is headed lower. We'll see how things finish out in the next hour and a half, hour and 15. EOG, dark cloud cover yesterday. We got a little spinning top right now, holding that support at 73. But if it cracks that and drops lower, I'd say there's probably a decent likelihood it's going to go down to that 67. You see, indicators have already turned negative. We've bumped the 200-day a couple of times. This thing's been in a long-term downtrend. All the signs right there are absolutely ripe. Facebook, another one, dark cloud cover yesterday. Increase in volume. The volume was nice with the dark cloud cover. We're getting a little follow through today. The only challenge is it is about 30 minutes ago, it was about $1 away from the entry point. So we'll see how things close out. Let's go see if that's about where it is. It should be on here. Facebook down 88. Where was it there? Down 56. So it's down a little bit more even. So might have missed that one, but we'll see what happens. So Harrah's had a little hangman yesterday. I mean, we're in kind of a sideways channel. We're almost in a bullish wedge to a certain degree. You see the little wedge there? The slopes against it's only a short-term trend, though. Generally speaking, we get that over a bigger period, a bigger trend, and a bigger time frame. But really, that's kind of what caught my attention. But then when you start looking at things, you see the bands are pushing to 50 days crossing below the 200. Indicators are starting to show bearish signs. The bands are pinching. If it breaks down, it's going to be pushing the bands even more. It looked bearish after the initial pattern look. I went, oh, you know what? If it drops below that 77 area, it's probably going to continue to the downside. So we got some decent opportunity there. IBM, another one that looked good yesterday and has broken out as of today, but then again, it was up 3. Should be on this list here. IBM, it's up 271, so about the same. It's dropped back some, but not a ton. So we will see. It's off about 30 or 40 cents from there. So we might get a nice shooting star from here. Who knows? And then maybe tomorrow the market will get fooled. Illumina, very similar. Got kind of a shooting star yesterday. Today it's been rallying a little bit. But then again, it might just drop off. It was up 365. Who knows what happens in the next hour. So we will see. But it looks like it's trying to hold that level. MTB, love the looks of this one. Inverted head and shoulders type of pattern. It's not beautiful. It's not textbook. Well, maybe when you go to lines, actually it is. It's a lot better with lines. Candlesticks, it looks kind of messy, but it broke out, pulled back, tapped it, and rallied. It's basically going sideways right now. Not terribly excited about it for the reasons that, a lot of bullish trades I'm not that excited about because of the risk to the market that I perceive. So, and I just noticed that earnings is a couple weeks out. So 418, about 2 or 3 weeks out. So hard to say what's going to happen with that. Procter & Gamble, we've had this on since last week, and actually last week or the week before, forming kind of a double top. This is a little better double top that I like to see, where we've already slowed down, been going sideways. It could almost be a triple top. Could even be a head and shoulders, realistically. So it's sold off a little bit today. I'm going to assume it's probably a little worse than that because everything's fallen back a little bit in the last little while. So see what happens with that. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, another pharma that you can see was at $600. There's the peak there, 11.20. So 3-4 months ago, it's almost been cut in half, almost. And we're talking since November 20th to 2.9. That's only 3 months, not quite 3 months. Been cut by about 40 or 50%. And it's just been going sideways since. And it looks like it wants to break down and go lower. Stokes is headed lower. MACD is pretty flat. Hasn't really picked a direction. It almost looks like it's sloping higher. Could be just a tiny bit, but looking at a break to the downside on this thing. And you can see there's $30 of potential profit there. Almost. Not $29.80 or 40 cents, whatever it is. But it's also a $360 stock, so we got to keep that in mind as well. Starbucks. Nice doji yesterday, right on the downtrend line. That's pretty solid. I mean, 5 hits. This is the 6th hit in this many months. So if this thing sells off today, I love the looks of this. Absolutely love it. The indicators are even looking pretty good too. They're pointing up a little bit, but they could, if the price turns over, they're going to turn over too. So I love the looks of it right now. Tesla Motors. Bouncing up today, which is what we needed, really. We wanted that to happen to a certain degree. If that volume is accurate for the day so far, it's already at the average. Of course, there's only a couple hours left, so it probably won't be a ton more than the average, but it'll probably be an increased day. So if it bounces, hits that 239, 240 area, and then shows weakness, we'd have a double top type of pattern. Excuse me. So we'll see what happens with Tesla. This one, not my favorite. And we'll finish up with a pharmaceutical. Again, you can see very similar pattern to all the others. There's 3 or 4 or 5 other ones on this list. About $4 of potential, so not huge in the realm of pharmaceutical, considering same thing back in November. This thing was 135 and now it's 80. It's been cut almost in half. So, yeah, if the trend is your friend, then this thing should be friendly. So we'll see what happens if it breaks lower or not. So there we have it for the big guys. We'll keep an eye on these puppies for the next week or so and see what presents itself and what doesn't, and we'll take what comes to us. So you'll have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.